Greetings, Tanzanites. Look at me trying to stay consistent with you guys. I have to commend myself for doing another recording, but I've been feeling so much better lately. Today's topic, you ever wonder, like, God, am I missing something? Like, is it me, Lord? I mean, you try to do things a certain way, you try to do things right, you are trying to be balanced with your emotions, emotionally intelligent is what they call it, right? You're trying to give people the benefit of the doubt, basically giving them grace, and then it turns around to bite you. You ever had a conversation with someone and they totally misunderstood you and you were like, that's not what I said at all? Like, you start playing again in your mind, like, what did I say to make them feel that way? Why are they feeling this way? Of course, people will blame you and say, you care too much about what other people think, blah, blah, blah. But I don't know about you, but I often wonder, like, am I the common denominator here? Like, I do self-evaluation to try to figure this thing out because I love peace. I am a no drama type person. I may give a little pushback and ask a lot of questions, but I'm starting to believe that it's my circle. Why are people so intent on misunderstanding me? Why don't they ask me to clarify? Why are they assuming? So that puts a different spin on what I just asked, right? I'm in the first 3 minutes of this conversation and I'm already answering my question. It's quite possible that it can be me. Let's be clear. I'm not ever saying that. And I'm assuming that everybody thinks that they are fair and that they are understanding and that they give grace and all of the things that I aforementioned. Is a for word? Anyways, that I mentioned in the beginning of me talking, right? But today, I am just so perplexed with this thought of what in the world is happening when I'm talking to people. I'm literally having a text conversation, which, mind you, me, I do not like when it comes to certain things to just be texting away all day long, especially when you first meet someone and you don't know their personality. You don't know when they're joking. You don't know when they are being what he called subliminal or jovial. I think that certain conversations, certain subjects, certain whatevers should be handled via voice or in person, right? Does that make me right? Speaking of right, does that make me wrong because that's what I desire? Does that make us not a match or good friends or good associates because we think differently? There's so many levels to this that it is perplexing sometimes. Dating at a certain age, well, I'm hearing dating at any age can be very complex with the way that people communicate, especially via text messaging. There have been long-term friendships and families that have broken apart because of texting, right? And I'm rambling. I know that's what I do, right? That's what this podcast or blog, as someone told me I have. I don't have a podcast. Is about. It's just about my random thoughts that come into my heart and my mind that I just want to get out. I do wish I had a live audience so somebody could help me with this right now, because I want to know, am I alone here? Do you sometimes have a conversation with someone via text, via in person, via on the phone, and they interpreted what you were saying so differently than your intentions that it is just absolutely amazing? And you're left wondering, my God, is it me? Is it me? Well, today is one of those days. Um, it's a rainy day here, overcast, thundering. It's been raining here a lot. And I'm sitting here listening to the thunder, and my thoughts in my head are rolling, thunderous action happening, people say things, and mind you me, something that I'm very aware of. I can be a little more sensitive to other people's feelings than the average person. I'm an empath and very empathetic. So I try to understand where they're coming from, probably a lot more than I should. And that has come back to bite me in my butt so many times, more than I can even remember, that it's sometimes not even worth it to even ponder things, to just go on and be yourself. But unfortunately, I wasn't made that way. I was made to be totally concerned about how other people feel, about how other people are interpreting things that I say. So it leaves me in this position, wondering what the heckity schmeckity happened in that conversation. Sometimes I wish that I saw this show. I can't tell you what the name of it was, but they had the ability to rewind everything and recall it. And you got to see how different things played back for different people and their interpretations of things. And that kind of, stayed with me. That people have a different way of thinking, but I don't think that I'm giving that grace. I'm never given that grace. No, I'm giving that grace, but I'm not going to say never. Never is a strong word like hate, but I'm often not given the grace that I give others. And I wonder why. I had someone to tell me, it's because it's you, Miss Tan. Tell me directly to my face. So that's what I also want to know. Is that something that I'm missing? That the way that people see me is so knowledgeable and understanding that I should be able to interpret and understand things way differently than they would or than the average person would? Is that a compliment? You know what someone asked me today? Did you go to school to be a therapist or a lawyer? And that's not the first time that I've been asked that. And I said, no, I actually went for arts, radio and television. I was kind of afraid to say I went for mass communications because I didn't want them to accuse me of the way I communicate. Well, no. They said, did you study law or to be a psychiatrist, not a therapist, in school? Is that a compliment or an insult? I dare not ask that question. I just took it as a compliment because I'm learning to be present and to take things as a compliment and not as an insult. But I still felt some type of way about it. I scrolled up to say, what did I say to make this man even question me in this manner? But again, it's not the first man to question me that way. I'm not sure if any women in my life feel that there's a possibility of me studying law or psychology. The other caveat is I wanted to go to law school. I actually had bought an LSAT book to get ready to study and found out I was pregnant with my Jacoby and just went a different route into radio. So maybe I'm missing something. And today I started asking God, please reveal it, because when there's smoke, there's fire. And it's one the more when more than one person says something, there could possibly be some truth to it. But it doesn't always have to be a negative truth. It could be a positive truth in a way that God is sending me a sign that I need to see how I come across and perhaps do something about it. Use it in another way because it's natural for me. Just like my radio voice, people say, I speak a certain way, and that's just the way I talk. That's just the way I speak. It takes no extra effort for me to do my job, to, be a reporter. That's just how I naturally sound. Anyways, on to the way I sound, and then I'll go back to that. I bought a t-shirt that says, someone said, you should get this shirt that says, don't make me use my radio voice. And so I bought the shirt, took a picture. Of course, someone saw me on IG with it, and they text me and go, so we're having this text conversation. Again, back to the text conversation, right? And they are like, are you texting that in your radio voice? I'm like, oh my God. They said, I saw your picture and it says, don't make me use my radio voice. But the text message that he sent it after was directly a long explanation about something. And at the end, I questioned him about a text he had sent. My electricity just went off. Do you guys hear that beeping? The weather is very bad out here. Hold on. This is what happens when you want to record a blog and not do any editing. So I apologize for that beep. I do have this battery pack that gives me power for a little while until my electricity comes back on. So that's what all that beeping is. Now, that's not a good thing because it has totally distracted me. I'm just so hopeful that someone gets something out of this blog. If you would, just contact me and let me know I am not alone here. That sometimes you walk around and are in such a state of confusion that you're like, Lord, is it me? Is it me, God? Is it me? Because you just don't know what happened when things are sidetracked, or you're no longer talking to that person because you've become so frustrated. But then, in some situations, sad but true, you realize that you've been doing the one giving all the grace the entire time. And that grace has ended for you because you no longer have the energy to carry the only one that's giving grace in the said association, friendship, business relationship, family relationship. When you start putting out your needs and what you need out of the situation, and then you realize they were easy to walk away. They did not come back because now you're not willing to endure their graceless personality toward you. Whew, did y'all hear that thunder? That's how my brain is feeling right now. Lord, the weather is so bad. I'm so glad I'm playing my new Blue Sun in the background. I don't own the rights to this music. I hope that nothing happens with my podcast, but all praises to God for this wonderful rain. My grass definitely needs it. But Tanzanites, tell me, do you think that in order for you to not walk around wondering if it's you, that the best thing to do is to assume that it's not you? Or the best thing to assume that it could possibly be you? In my mind, we should all do a self-evaluation before accusing. And that doesn't always happen because we're human, right? We're emotional creatures. But emotional intelligence tells me that not only should we count to 10, but if a person is upset with you about something that maybe you not should, let me change that. Maybe you could take a step back and not always say, well, I didn't do nothing. Knowing your intentions, but because you were not intentionally trying to hurt a person, it doesn't mean you didn't. So maybe you could circle back and say, what do you feel happened? Because what do they say? It's three sides to every story, right? Your side, their side, and the truth. I think that a good conversation could end a lot of wars. And I'm not talking about the ones that involve our military. I'm talking about sometimes wars in marriages and friendships and groups and churches. A conversation where everybody listens, not to just be heard, not to just respond, but to resolve. This is going a different way than I thought it would initially. It's going a very different way now that I am speaking my thoughts out loud. If we all just took a moment and were like, is it me? Not necessarily because you're confused, but because there is some type of conflict. Well, let me go back even further. I may be the only one feeling this way about this text message. The other person on the other end could be having the best conversation of their lives, and it's the way that I'm interpreting it. So initially, this thought is bubbling in my head because of a text conversation, right? That I'm interpreting. So another little nugget I want to just reiterate, because I know most people know this, but text messages are understood by the reader. So let me say that a different way. Text messages are interpreted by the reader. And sometimes it is interpreted totally different than what the sender intended. So it could be me. Whew. Ouch. It quite possibly could be me, that I'm totally missing something because my brain is wired totally different than the person I'm speaking with, which all of our brains are wired differently. It is wired according to how we were raised, what we've been through, our traumas, our triumphs. All of that helps us to interpret what's being even said to us in a conversation over the phone, in a conversation in person. It's left up to the interpreter. So that's why I feel we should always ask questions. If a person says, I like you, you should say, what does that mean to you? They could like you as a friend. They could like you as girlfriend. They could like you as someone to sleep with. They could just like you, your personality, and mean nothing totally behind it. But before you assume, before you decide that, oh, I like you too, and you never discuss what that I like you means, the feelings may not, in fact, be mutual. You may be liking them for a future mate or a committed relationship, and they're not liking you for the same thing. But I also think if you ask a person a question and they refuse to answer, well, I'm not going to say refuse, they don't want to answer, then you may not be on the same page. And you should file that away. Just file it away. I'm not saying act on it or it's the have all be all, but just keep that in the forefront of your mind. Not the forefront, maybe the back front. Don't don't listen to me, or listen. I'm just talking, right? I I appreciate you. Yes, you, the one that's listening right now. I appreciate you, Tanzanite. Look up the meaning of Tanzanites and you'll know why I use that. It is a play on my name, but if you are feeling that I'm directly talking to you right now, I am. Okay. I hope that I didn't ramble on, but hey, that was what was on the forefront of my mind. And I talk myself through the answer. Sometimes that is such a good thing to do. Well, like and share the broadcast. And remember, it's okay to live. Life is not promised without things happening to us, but we can choose to live and not just be alive. Bye, Tanzanites.